educational assessments. Now we're going to start with what is an assessment. The assessment involves measuring the performance of our students and the progress they are making. It helps us to be able to diagnose the problems they have and to provide them with useful feedback. This is why we use different evaluation, different tests, and that's what we're going to talk about here in this video. Now here we have the formal assessment. The formal assessment, they are often external, administered to many students under standardized conditions. Assess a broad range of language, are done in order to assess learning, can be backward-looking or forward-looking, and are probably marked objectively or through standardized objective marking schemes, and are likely to be administered at the end of the course. And the informal assessment is a way of collecting information about your students' performance in normal classroom conditions. Informal assessment is sometimes referred to as continuous assessment, as it's done over a period of time, like a term or an academic year. I use this picture because I'm a preschool teacher, so now I'm often doing informal assessments with my students. I'm in Kinder 1. So mostly what I'm going to talk about is what I do in Kinder 1. Now we have self-assessments. In preschool we don't have self-assessments, written self-assessments. We just speak to the students to know what they're doing, what they've learned, what they do remember from the previous year. So, and it is not to put them in some grade or it's just to know how we're going to start the year. Dickinson in 1887 mentioned the use of it for initial assessment, whether it's to place students for diagnosis, exactly I use them for diagnosis, or assessment of their progress. To build autonomous and self-directed language learners, an objective which Dickinson says is an important educational objective itself, and to alleviate the assessment burden on a teacher. Now here we have the summative and formative assessment. This type of assessment is the label Scriven in 1967 gave to that which aims to assess learning. The main purpose of a summative assessment is to assess learning and pass some judgment on the learner's current performance. So they know, okay, you have a 10, you have a 9, you have a 6. Okay, so it's very important to, go up. The administration might result in some judgment on the learner, such as pass or fail, some qualification or certificate, or access to a course or employment. Now here we have different type of tests. This is super interesting. We have the aptitude test, we have the placement test, we have the diagnosis test, the achievement, and the proficiency test. The aptitude test is designed to predict who will be successful in the language learning, concerned with future language learning. The placement is to know to make the decisions regarding the student's placement into appropriate groups, because you might use some materials, you might use some elements with some students that are low range, but you cannot use the same things for higher students because they will get bored, they won't actually pay attention, and then we are done with it. The diagnosis test determines students' areas of strength and weakness in order to determine appropriate learning activities. So how can we continue? How can we begin to start the course? The achievement tests are used when a student is looking for an advanced course, CAT, PET, FCE, CIA, CPE. Now I think it's for students, it's very appealing now, the TKTs. And then we have the proficiency. They are related to specific academic or professional situations where English is needed. Might be large-scale tests because important academic and career decisions are based on them. They are also used for selection, for example, for university requirements. Now, what does a teacher need to think before creating a test? This is very important because you cannot create the same test for Kinder 3 and for second grade. The students are very different. They have different abilities. They have a higher level in their vocabulary and their abilities. So, okay, the teacher must know the age of the students, the educational level, the job aspirations, the language background, cultural, religious outlook, verbal intelligence, language learning attitudes, teacher efficiency, language attitude, communicative aptitude, teaching learning style, program specificity, program feedback, and language medium or environment. In my case, in Kinder 1, what I need to do is, okay, well, what abilities do they have now? For example, when they got here on the first month, they couldn't even handle the crayon. Now, at this month, they can actually match and they can color. So those are the different things that I have to pay attention and to take into account for the tests, for the testing. Now, classroom external or internal or external examination. The classroom test has the classroom context and the rules of the classroom. So, is it going to be in the classroom or outside the classroom? The external examination leads the student to feel more free. Those tests are often projects that allow for the students to be creative, also to use more of this course instead of just simple answers. These tests can be theater, recreation, public presentations. What I often do with my students are presentations. So, for example, right now we are creating a park, a playground. So we made a slide, we made a swing, and they are going to present it. They are going to say, okay, this is a swing, this is a seesaw, this is a slide. So, 4-year-olds. So those are their presentations. When they are older students, is very good to see. It's when they improvise and they are reproducing the language in a manner that they never thought that they could. So it's very interesting to do the projects, and I think for me as a teacher, I prefer the external examinations, obviously. So now performance or competence. The competence test is a systematic test, and the performance tests are beyond the study, given that it is unsystematic, obviously, in nature. So the use or usage, the use of language refers to the act of using or state of being used for a purpose. Usage refers to an accepted and habitual practice of the customary manner in which a language or a form of language is spoken. So are you using it really, or is it just a manner of usage? So in my case, I think the students are making the usage of it. So direct or indirect testing. Indirect tests do not elicit real performance. It is not using real production of the language, and uses like multiple choice testing. So, for example, in my case, I often do indirect testing. When I was in Kinder 3, I used indirect testing because, in Kinder 1, Kinder 2 also, but Kinder 3, they can do more direct tests because they can write, they can match, they can follow instructions a little bit better. Now, the discrete point or integrative testing, the discrete point are called those items that form part of a battery of many items. Those are basically the reading tests. If there are enough of them, they give a good indication of the learner's underlying competence. Well, if they get a 9, if they get a 10, if they get a B, if they get an A, Is it subjectively or objectively marked? The objective assessment can be marked clearly just as right and wrong. And the subjectively tests are a qualitative style. So I often do, that's what I always do, not often, always, is subjectively tests. Because Kinder ones, they cannot be objectively tested. They have a lot of improvements within this period of time. So it's very important to be subjectively with them. And often I qualitative style. The skills that are tested, well, we have listening skills, writing skills, reading skills, and speaking skills. In this case, for me, in Kinder 1, when I'm rating, is listening skills, are listening skills and speaking skills. That's it. They cannot do more, but hopefully soon. Now, the backward or forward-looking test. The backward-looking test is called like that because it's looking backwards. I use it based syllabus to see to what degree is being assimilated by the learners, and the forward-looking are looking to the future of the language. I think that is very, very simple to understand. So is language contextualized or disembodied? Contextualized tests is because the items are very interpretive within each other. They have some context. And the disembodied kind of test, that the things that are questioned, they don't have any relevance within each other. So we can be talking about fruits, and now we can be talking about clothes, you know. Is criterion reference or non-reference? The criterion tests, the contextualized tests, have interpretive items in a full context in order to function. The disembodied language, the items bear little relevance to each other. Sorry, I think I did it. Okay. Now we have the validity, the utility, and the discrimination. The validity of the test are based on the grades that the students get from it. So, is it valid, the test? The students are getting good grades. The utility of the test, which with high utility, will give a lot of feedback to assist in the planning for the rest of the course or future courses. Is it good? Was it good? Was it a good test? What kind of things can I also include sometimes in another planning or something like that? What kind of I don't know, different things, different questions. The discrimination of a test is to discriminate between the stronger and weaker students. This is desirable in a placement test or formal. So I think the discrimination of the test is very important to take into account, because we don't do that, and despite that, we keep using the same tests that maybe are not really functioning with our students and with the objectives that we need to achieve. And well, this class has been very, very good. As a teacher, we are always testing, we are always looking for our kids to get them to achieve the objectives, to keep developing their abilities. So I think it was an excellent class. I really liked it. So this is all for me, teacher. Thank you very much for your classes. I found them very good. I couldn't be there, but I always watch them. Thank you very much, teacher. I hope to see you soon. Thank you in another class, maybe. I don't know. Thank you. Goodbye.